Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this another series of PMP exam preparation for PMP exam, and this is again brought to you by PMP Mad Easy. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel for amazing short videos on PMP exam and yeah, we also have a Telegram group, so please go ahead and join that group where members and moderators are very helpful, and I'm pretty sure you would find it very helpful. So today's topic is going to be scheduling. We're going to keep it a very short topic. We're going to talk about the basics of scheduling and yeah, at the very high level of what scheduling means in PMP or project management. So let's start um, with what scheduling is. So scheduling has an entire knowledge area dedicated to it in the project management, and that's that schedule management plan where you would have to plan, schedule, and you have to create a schedule management plan, and then you have to create activities, sequence them, create a network diagram. And all of that, right? And then you have to control your schedule. So there's an entire schedule knowledge area that goes to scheduling. Then it's one of the key performance metrics for those who have been working on projects. They would know that scheduling with cost and quality, they're one of the most sought out performance metrics on projects. If you have to gauge how successful a project is, you pretty much look at those three metrics: cost, scheduling, and quality. So that again puts a lot of emphasis on scheduling, and therefore you have a lot of project control tools that you need to use to ensure that you are controlling your schedule. And what by controlling your schedule means that you are using these tools to ensure that the baseline schedule is met and there's not a lot of deviations on that. So most commonly used control schedules are earned value management, critical path method, schedule compression. So those are the three most commonly used project control tool. Now, the basis of scheduling, you have to know what a network diagram is. It's pretty simple concept, and it's a lot of time tested on the PMP exam. You also need to know what dependencies are, and obviously at the very end you would also need to know what leads and lags are. So these are just the basic of scheduling. There's more to scheduling where you get into the project control tools such as earned value analysis, schedule compression. But today we'll keep it at the very high level, at the very basic level of scheduling, which is talk about network diagram, different kinds of network diagram, dependencies, what kind of dependencies are there, and what's a lead and a lag on a schedule. So there are basically two kinds of network diagram. One is arrow diagrammatic method, or you can also call it as activity on arrow. So if you see on the diagram, you would see that every activity is basically, every arrow is donated by an activity. So for instance, if you have to build a floor, you can say that's an activity A. And then if you have to build columns on that floor, it could be activity D. So you would build a floor and then you would build columns on that. So that's known as activity on arrow. Whereas there's a second kind of network diagram, which is called precedence diagrammatic method, or it's called activity on node. So instead, rather than having activities on arrow, you have activities on node. So for instance, activity A, and then the arrow represents that after activity A, you would be doing activity B and E, and right after B, you would do C, and so on and so forth. And this is the most commonly used network diagram, not just, and it's the most commonly tested network diagram on PMP exams. So most commonly used, what I mean by that is This kind of network diagram is most commonly used on projects, and those people who have been working on projects, they would be familiar with this kind of diagram. So this is the most tested diagram on the PMP exam, and I'm pretty sure that you can probably relate to it more because a lot of you have been part of working on schedules or looking at those. So yeah, those are two kinds of network diagram. Moving on to dependencies, there are four kinds of dependencies. Now, obviously, there's always a dependency between two activities. One of those dependency is called a mandatory dependency, or AKA hard logic. Now, what that means is these dependencies are either legally or contractually required, and at times these are inherent in nature. So let me give you a couple of examples, right? So for instance, you cannot build a roof of a building until you have the columns of the building. So you first need to build the columns, put them in place, and only then would you be able to build a roof on top of that. So that's a mandatory or a hard logic. Similarly, at a very basic and a very naive example would be that you cannot eat food without cooking it first, right? You have to have some food in front of you to cook it. So these are mandatory hard logic dependencies. Similarly, there's something called discretionary dependency, and which is actually something called as preferred or soft logic. Now, this might be something that your organization have found out over a period of time that this is the best possible way to conduct activities. Now, there it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the best way to do it, but based on your experience or your organization's experience, you feel like this is the best way to do it. And there's no right and wrong for this. So, for instance, you can furnish the top floor and then move down to the last floor. So let me give you a very easy example, right? When you have a building, like let's take a building which is four floors and it's already done, right? If you furnish the first floor first, and if you go up, there's a very high chance that because all the materials, all the labor would go from first to the last floor. So therefore, if you furnish the first floor first, there's a chance that you might damage that furnish at the end. So it's better to do the last floor first, and then the top floor first, and then the last floor or the ground floor at the very end. So that's like a soft logic. That's something that you've known based on your experience. Again, a very naive example would be to eat appetizer before the main course. Now there's no one's going to stop you to eat a main course first and an appetizer later, right? It's simple. I mean, you nobody's stopping you to eat an ice cream before dinner, but that's how things are. It's preferred that you eat dinner first so that you fulfill your appetite, and then go on to eat a dessert or something sweet. So those could be termed as soft logic or discretionary dependency. The other kind of dependency is external, which is defined as dependencies which are dependent on other non-project related activities, something that is not under the control of project team. So for instance, a construction permits need to be received 10 days prior to the construction begins. Now, you have to submit the permit to the city, and now that has to be done 10 days prior to that. Now it's actually built into your schedule. You have no control over that, but based on your experience, you've known that it usually take 10 days for the city to issue you a permit. So hence this is an external dependency, something that's not under your control, but and it still needs to be accounted for in your schedule. The last is an internal dependency. Now these kind of um, dependencies are definitely in your control, and you can do that. um, um, uh, you can have complete control over them, and you can schedule your activities based on that. So very basic example would be to build house one and then move on to house two and then house three and house four. Now, these were four kinds of dependencies that you need to know. The lastly is you need to know about the leads and lags. of activities. So a lead is termed as something is lead is the acceleration of successor activity. You need to accelerate the the successor activity to start earlier, and that's what the lead is. So for instance, testing can start 2 days into development. So you know that testing will take a long time, but you're saying that you can start testing you can start testing 2 days into development. You start developing a code, and you keep on developing it, and 2 days after that you would reach a point where it's feasible for the project team to start testing that code. So that can be termed as a lead activity, whereas a lag and you can probably see that on the slide, that predecessor activity is development. You just need 2 days, and then just after 2 days you can start testing. And a lag activity is when there's a delay in successor activity. And a very basic example would be that you need to have a lag of 7 days to build a roof after you've built a column. So when you're constructing a column, you know that you pour in the concrete. The concrete takes time to solidify itself, and you cannot build a roof until you know that the column has reached its maximum strength. So based on all the calculation, you knew that it takes 7 days for the column to attain its maximum strength. So you schedule your activity of building the roof 7 days after you've built a column. So these are very simple examples of what the basic examples of what scheduling is, right? Different kinds of a network diagram, different kinds of dependencies between activities, and lastly, the leads and lags, which actually is dependent on the amount of days. So this is very basic of scheduling that we've talked in today's presentation. And yeah, I mean, keep on just keep yourself updated to this YouTube channel. We'll be posting more presentations and more slides on scheduling and all of the kind uh, of content that will help you take your PMP exam. Lastly, please again do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We really appreciate that. It encourages us to make more videos for you guys, and also join the Telegram group where the members, the moderators are very helpful. You would find a lot of good reference material, which will help you on your PMP journey. Again, thank you for watching this. Take care and bye bye.